All right, I need to just move that from my screen. Hang on.
Oh, it didn't actually come up.
Okay.
That's interesting. It won't go on YouTube, but we will send out the link to all of you and anybody who requests it. I know somebody said that they were really sorry to miss this evening, but they are going to order a book off you, Denise.
Oh, are they? Okay. Fine, that's good. Well, I can still get it in time for Chanukah. We have another 5 days or so. So if they let me know in good time, I can get it done. And personally signed to whoever they want it for or themselves.
Well, I gave them the link to the page on your website, so then.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's past. People will have to catch up if they're coming in late. That's all I can say. Denise, I think you need no introduction, but you're one of the UK's best loved Jewish cooks, if not one of the best loved cooks out there. And of course, this is the second time we've welcomed you onto the coffee break at JSCN. So without more ado, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'll spotlight you so that people can, or if people want to put you on a speaker view, you can do that, but I'm going to spotlight you just to assist that. There we go.
Okay, so, great. So you can all see me, you can all hear me, you can see my, but I'm here about giving as well. I'm giving a book and I'm giving a lovely cookery class, but this want to show you, this is what you could win tonight. It does have lots of Chanukah recipes in. It also has lots of nice photos, and it is a Jewish cookbook. So I know that part of the joining on tonight, I say lovely colour photos are on here, and there's lots of Chanukah recipes as well. So whatever dietary requirement you are, whether you're gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, or just like some lovely fish, meat, chicken dishes, it's all in here. But it all tells you a little about the historic of Jewish cooking around the world. So that is what this is, and it's worth £25, and I'm giving it away for you tonight. So very happy to be doing that. So I'm going to move this here so you can see it. Tonight being Chanukah, of course, we need to focus about the recipes connecting with oil. It is obviously the reason why we celebrate Chanukah with latkes and donuts, is because the oil in the temple, the pure oil, miraculously lasted. They had suspicion for 1 day, but miraculously it lasted 8 days. And this is the symbolism. All Jewish festivals wonderfully have a foodie connection, and with Chanukah, it is oil. And it is traditionally used is the olive oil, the pure olive oil, but I'm connecting it with oil because tonight I'm going to be choosing to use different types of oil. We are going to use, I've got extra virgin olive oil in here. I'm also going to use, and in here we've got rapeseed oil. And here is one of my favorites. I don't know if you can see this. This is truffle oil. This is absolutely divine. All are supervised kosher. You can get them. But I say it is about oil. And the two recipes we're doing something a little bit different. We are making a roasted squash. I'm going to be using butternut squash soup with mushrooms and drizzled with a beautiful little essence of black truffle oil. And the donuts, they are baked donuts, but they've got oil in them. Let me just show you what they look like. So this is recipe number 2. So that's what we could be making. But recipe number 1, we're going to start with the soup. The soup is here, but we're going to finish this off and make that look really pretty and colourful. Feel free to ask me any questions you want. You never know, the person in the next screen might want to ask exactly the same question. The recipes I think you've been given, if not, they are on my website, jewishcookery.com. So hopefully you've got that. So the recipe starts with, as I say, using a butternut squash. Now I am using half the quantity that the recipe says, so that you know, and it is using 1.5 kilos of pumpkin squash. But butternut squash. But when pumpkin is in season, it is beautiful, this recipe, using this dish. But there's lots of different types of squash. There's acorn squash, there's spaghetti squash. So whatever you can get in season, but I'm sure that you'll find butternut squash, perfectly honest, nearly all year round. So I'm using butternut squash. It is readily available and it is really quite economical to purchase. So this soup, it starts by roasting. So we're just going to peel, and because I've actually cut this into a piece, I can put in my hand. I mean, sometimes the squashes are really quite big. I'm using a vegetable peeler, an easy grip vegetable peeler, and the soup is roasted butternut squash. So we're going to roast this first before we make the soup. And the reason why we're roasting it, like anything, it brings out the flavour, it strengthens the flavour. So I've now removed the skin here of my butternut squash. And now I'm going to roughly chop this using a sharp knife. So reasonably small pieces. And just to remember, the whole soup will be pureed. So really, the smaller you chop this now, the quicker it cooks. So you can see I've got my hand here. It just means you cannot hurt yourself. I'm going to now change the knife. So pushing the knife forward, keeping the knife on the chopping board. So I've got equal pieces. And if they're equal pieces, they will cook all at the same time. So again, I'm keeping the squash with the hand downwards, all in nice strips. You can see all neat into strips, moving the squash together, pushing the knife forward, and here they are, all equal. So, on a tray lined with baking parchment paper, you now put your chopped up butternut squash onto the tray. Okay, so this will be going into the oven. Now I've got two ingredients that I really like, and they are ready. I saw them today, definitely in Waitrose, definitely in Tesco's, and I'm not sure about, but I know Morrison's do. This is the whole chestnuts. Look at these. Natural whole, which are already skinned. They are really, really good. It comes in vacuum packed. I've actually kept a little bit back for garnish. So we're just going to break these up into sort of nice chunky pieces, and by roasting them, I can't tell you, the smell of the chestnuts is really lovely. So this will be going into the oven. Oil number one, we are using rapeseed oil. And why am I, you could use olive oil, I'm happy to use olive oil, but with rapeseed oil, it has a very low smoke point, so things won't burn. I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. This is now ready for the oven. So this is a little bit different from a soup. It's not just putting it all in the saucepan. We're going to roast this first. And we're going to roast it on 200 degrees centigrade, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 6, for about 20-25 minutes. And I always recommend, do put your timer on. We're all busy people. The phone will go, the doorbell will go, something into, and you might forget. So just put the timer on. You can do this in advance. This soup is, in fact, vegan, dare I say, as well. It's non-dairy, it's vegetarian, but it is delicious. So this is now, say, going into the oven. All right, so when it comes out, here we have some, I'll say, I've already, can you see the colour on the squash, the colour on the chestnuts? It's sort of golden and looking rather nice. So this is how it looks. So any questions? I'm going to move on to the next step of the soup recipe, which is chopping up. I'm going to chop up the onion. You can use red or white onion, doesn't actually matter. So again, we're going to chop up the onion. So slicing this one way, slicing and pan fry. So it's 3/4 of the way through. I've sliced it through, and this I'm putting my hand here. If the knife slips, you aren't going to hurt yourself. So slicing, pushing the knife forward, chopping the onion, and then we're going to chop some garlic. It's all part of the soup. To say you can use the red onion if you want to, but to say I've got white onion here. Then I slice and chop this onion, and it is going into the soup pot. So, all right, so this is now. So I'm going to move this here, move my frying pan into the center so that you can see. Let's put the light on. The light is going, heat is going on. Again, you can use rapeseed oil or olive oil. And we're now going to pan fry these onions, okay? Most recipes start with pan frying onions, garlic. I promise you that most of those kind of recipes all do. I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to move this to one side. I'm now going to chop the garlic. You can get smoked garlic, and that is amazing, whether you're at a farmer's market or even, I know, online, or Cardo, Morrison's. But this particular garlic, wow, it's quite a big piece. So I like garlic, to be honest. So happy to use. The recipe says 3 pieces of garlic. I'm going to use 2 pieces to say half the quantity, but I'm enjoying that.
Would you ever use ready prepared garlic?
Yes, you can. You certainly can. The jars are really quite good. Happy to. I just tend to always use the fresh ones. It makes it easier. And you can see by just chopping, I've got all the garlic. You know, there's garlic crushers. Most of the garlic stays in the crusher here. I've wasted nothing. So finally chopping the garlic. Again, it's all going to be pureed anyway. So the garlic is now going into the saucepan. It's sizzling away now. I'm going to give it a nice stir. Show you. So moving that again to one side. Okay, so the next ingredient is mushrooms. Now, brown cap mushrooms. Here we go. Look, they've got a dark coating here. Just something to reinforce. Mushrooms, wash them well, but you do not need to take the skin off. I think it's something of years gone by that everyone was busy peeling mushrooms. You do not need to. If you start peeling your mushroom, there'll be hardly anything left. And the stronger, the darker the chestnut, the darker the mushroom, the stronger the flavor. So you could use shiitake mushrooms if you wanted or anything, but the dark ones, as opposed to the white cap, go for the dark ones. So these mushrooms have all been washed. I am now going to add it to my frying pan. So in that goes. I've cut the mushrooms. You can slice them or you can cut them in quarters, whatever works well for you. Again, it's all going to be pureed, so it just makes it easier to. And what's going to happen now? For those of you that regularly cook with mushrooms, you know that mushrooms have a lot of water in them. And what's going to happen now is that the heat touches to the mushrooms and they sort of ooze out with flavor. And what you want is all those lovely juices staying in with the soup. So it adds sort of a natural liquid to the pot of soup. So I'm letting that pan fry. Now I have something else which I love. It's from the same make, Merchant Gourmet, as the chestnuts. Now this is the puree. All right, this puree chestnut, and that just opens, comes like this, and I'll show you. Just comes There we go. Just got a little bit in the corner, so I'm going to remove the stuff at the bottom of the packet. Don't want to waste it. This really is another great product. So these are two here. You can use either of these for both sweet or savoury dishes. So maybe you're making a chestnut cake. In the soup, what it does, it adds a creaminess that's plant-based. It's absolutely delicious. Really, really nice. If you can't get the chestnut puree, what I would do is add an extra packet of the chestnut pieces and just add that instead. But this just kind of gives it a different dimension. It is really delicious. So look at it here. It's got a beautiful colour and amazing, amazing flavour. Right, so just going to add this to the pot. And already it's beginning to, I mean, my mushrooms are already, the flavour here are already, can you see the juices have already connected here. I'm going to add some of the stock just a little bit. So let's continue. Let's add our chestnut puree. Let's add our cooked and roasted butternut squash. So it all goes into the pot. So in that all goes. And I say you can do this all in advance. The soup can be frozen. So adding all those chopped vegetables in, followed by vegetable stock. And that you just need to bring to the boil for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. You can see, I think, quite clearly. Bring it to the boil, let it simmer, and literally using a stick blender or liquidizer, I will show our ready soup. So I'm going to move this all to one side now. Just move that over. Move this out of the way. I can smell all the flavours. It is divine. So when it comes out in the puree, it looks really like this. So what was the chestnut puree? It's the same as the other one. It's here. It's the Merchant Gourmet. They're both the same brand, Merchant Gourmet. I don't know if you want to take photographs, but I say Merchant Gourmet. They're completely pure, natural products. All right, is that okay? I don't know who asked the question, but there you go. Really, really lovely. So now let's add this soup, add another dimension to the soup, because I always like to make sure that the soup says what it is. It's all about presentation skills. So we've got roasted chestnuts, because I retained some of the roasted chestnuts. So we're going to add the roasted chestnuts as a garnish. So I'm just roughly chopping this, the ready roasted. These are the chestnuts we're roasted with the butternut squash. So we can add this on here. All right. I'm going to take some, and this is a good tip, fresh parsley. We need to add a little bit of colour. All right. So some lovely green here. So add some parsley. I'm just going to take some of the retained butternut squash so that we know what it is. So I'm just going to get some of that. So that's from the soup. Some of the cubes, and again, roughly chop that and sprinkle that on top as well. All right. And then, as I say, the finesse of the whole soup, it's just amazing, is the truffle oil. And drizzle with this, and it really is a little. You only need a tiny bit of this. Less is more with this soup. So let me just bring that up to the screen so that you can see. And this is the roasted butternut squash mushroom soup with a little truffle oil. Now, there are different types of truffle oil. As I say, this is from Truffle Hunter. This is the English one, or you can use black truffle. All are kosher, KLBD. I'll be honest, it's not cheap. They've given this to me, so thank you very much. But it is amazing. It's and they do all sorts. They do truffle salt. They do truffle honey. It is just a beautiful, beautiful product.
Some better than others. Sorry, Denise. There are some truffle oils better than others. So some not worth having.
Well, put it this way, I'd certainly buy small quantity of it all, because if you buy a lot, it doesn't, the strength of it all, unless you're using it every day, you can put it into risotto or stews or things like that. But you can see, I mean, I have used it. I mean, that's how much is left. You can see I've got, move that around, I have used it a fair amount. But they do go off, they do go sort of, the flavour wanes, it sort of mellows, and it's just not as good. So I would buy a small amount rather than, oh, I bought this beautiful. I really go for less and buy it. When you finished it, buy another one. Keep it in somewhere that's dry, cool, away from sunlight, like any oils, and it will encourage longevity of its use.
And Lynn Marie's said, what temperature are you cooking at? I assume at just the simmer. Once you brought it up to heat.
Well, the soup, yeah, just reheat it.
Yeah.
The soup, just to simmer. So let me recap what we did so that you can see. At the very beginning, I peeled the butternut squash and cut it into cubes. And I put it on a tray lined with baking parchment paper, together with 1 packet of this chestnuts, the whole chestnuts, okay? That went in the oven for about 20-25 minutes until they were golden and the chestnuts were crispy. I then pan fried onion and garlic, okay? And then I added the ready cooked butternut squash and chestnuts. And then I added the chestnut puree, which was this packet, chestnut puree, added some stock, and then brought that to the boil, maybe 5-10 minutes. Don't forget, the squash is cooked. It's only the onions that really, and that doesn't take long. And all the mushrooms, I chopped up the mushrooms as well, so get the mushrooms and added that. And I think you saw that my mushrooms had already reduced in liquid. That happened really very fast. So bring it to the boil, let that cook, and then liquidize it or use a stick blender. And then that's how it comes, and then I garnish. So when you come to retain some of the chestnuts and the squash, just to add it, because if you think about presentation skills, keep it simple, keep it relevant, keep it fresh. So it says what it is. It is, I'm using fresh butternut squash. I've got chestnuts because I can see the chestnuts there, and giving it colour is using fresh parsley.
Excellent stuff.
Okay.
We're all sitting here with our spoons ready to dip it in.
Yeah, I know. All right. Okay, so I don't know any other questions. I will now remove from savoury to sweet. All right, so we'll leave that all one side. But I say these here are really good. They're fantastic store-covered ingredients. I mean, the chestnuts are great on all the vegetables. You just sprinkle on top of any vegetables. Great with potatoes. I mean, Brussels sprouts, you name it. That's why they're in the shops at the moment. And to be honest, they're on special offer at Tesco, so I bought some extra packets because I love them. And I said it really is a great store-covered ingredient.
Beth is asking the quantity that you've just done, how many will that serve?
Oh, the soup is, if you do the full quantity, it's about 8 to 10. Now, you can put as much stock. I used half the quantity, so that was 750 mils of stock. You can add more if you like it, the soup not so thick. It's quite a personal thing how thick you want your soup. Some people like it really thick, and others prefer it, you know, quite loose. And obviously, if you make it looser, you will make it go further. So let's get all the ingredients now ready for the donuts that have got vegetable oil in them. So I've got most of these ingredients out here, all ready to go. So let's get, okay, right. Let's move the soup out the way because we're done with the soup. I'll just put it behind me. Right, what I have here, and we're making, for those that have joined late, let me show you what we're making. All right, these are baked donuts. They're baked coffee donuts with chocolate sprinkles. And just a reminder, the recipe is on my website, jewishcookery.com. Okay, this is how they look. You can make these ahead of time. They will last 3-4 days if you don't munch them all. But they do freeze. Okay, with the icing, they do freeze. All right, so this is what we are making. I can put that behind me. Right, what I have here is actually, and I got this on Amazon, I ordered it, is actually a special donut baking tray. If you don't have one, can you see the little sort of thing center gives it around on there? Just use regular round cup cases and the dough, your mixture won't have a hole in it, but that's not the end of the world. All right, but that's what I have. And what I also then have, vegetable oil, next oil that we're using. I have greased this using a pastry brush. I've actually, was the question here? Sorry for being a little late. Okay, all right. Okay, with a pastry brush around the sides. It actually is a very good non-stick baking tray. And then one's going to ask me what the make is. It says it's Wilson. All right. I don't know. I got it online. And this is actually the small one. I've also got slightly larger. And I bought that one too. So it depends what size you want, depending how big your dough. The mixture makes, if I use this whole tray, it makes this, so it makes 14. It depends on which size you use. It's all of the small one plus 2 larger ones. That's what it made. So depending on your tray. So I am going to, it's a really simple recipe for those that have got children, grandchildren, or who just want something quick and easy. This is actually does tick the box because it really is a simple recipe, but lovely. And I say you don't have to be busy with deep frying, with donuts. Donuts are made with yeast, which takes a bit longer. You know what? This is really quick and easy. So I really like this recipe. So I'm going to take my mixer. I've got, this is actually, you could do it all by hand, to be perfectly honest. I'm pretty sure you could. But I'm going to make life really easy. So this is plain flour. So in goes the plain flour. And because it's plain flour, hence we need baking powder to make it rise. So that is the baking powder. All right, and a little bit of flavour. Yeah. This is fresh nutmeg. See there? They saw me coming when I was at a food show and I brought this little grater and I actually quite like it. You know, you go back in the days we were going to food fairs before COVID, and I rather like this little gadget. You can put your nutmeg in there and you grate it. So I've got fresh nutmeg. I mean, you don't have to use nutmeg if you don't want to. You could put a little bit of cinnamon if you want. So that's just something that I quite like. It just gives it a different flavour. All right. So I have made this non-dairy. And what I have here, and that is almond milk. And I'm also, if you wanted to make it vegan, I am using an egg, but to make it vegan, you would add, and you might want to make a note of this, 2 tablespoons of non-dairy cream cheese. All right, but I say this is not vegan, it is dairy free. So this is almond milk. So we're going to add that. 1 egg. All right, so we're going to add the egg. And I always do this from a height. You'd be amazed how much egg white you leave in your shell. You leave this here. All right. Actually, mine's got a blood spot in. I'm just going to throw this. I've got more eggs. Sorry about this, but I've just seen a blood spot. I'm just going to change this. This is why it's so useful to use a glass dish so that you can see. So I do this again. Okay, that's perfect. You see, look, I'm still dripping here with the egg white is still coming out of that shell. That's fine.
Denise, I'm just going to break in for a second because we've got somebody who has joined us late. They're just down as iPhone. So I'm just going to ask them if they could put on their camera and rename themselves with their real name. It has to be for security reasons. It's a little disconcerting when somebody anonymous comes on. So if iPhone could either unmute themselves and tell us who they are, or just rename yourself, I'd be most grateful. Hi there, who's joined us?
It's Carmen.
Hi, Carmen. Have you got a camera that you can switch on?
Yes, one moment. Hi.
Hi there. Okay, nice for you to join us. Right, you
Hello,
can mute yourself now, and we're recording, so
okay,
everybody
then
who's in the event tonight will get a link to the recording so you can catch up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen.
So I continue?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, I'm just going to recap. So what I've just done here, I've just put some plain flour in. I put baking powder in. And I put almond milk in and a little bit of fresh nutmeg. I'm now going to add 1 egg. Now, it is coffee flavoured donut. So this is warm water. And I've got 2 tablespoons of coffee granules. So I'm just going to add the water. And what that does is melts the granules. So we're going to mix that together. All right, so the granules all mix in and melts it. So just to add that, whoops, okay, just a splash on it. So I'm going to add the coffee granules here. And I'm going to add that to my mixture. I'm going to give it a bit of a whiz. At the moment, I still got more ingredients to add, but I'm going to give it a whiz. Okay, we need to add some sweetness. There's no sugar in there yet. So adding some sugar. This is caster sugar. So adding the sugar. Also a little bit of lemon juice. And as I said, oil as well. So adding a little bit of lemon juice here. So just when you're adding the juice, make sure there's no pips. So about 2 teaspoons there of lemon juice. Vegetable oil. This is, again, say using, there's no fat here. This is the oil, so it's vegetable oil. And a little bit here of vanilla essence. So I like to use a teaspoon of that. Right, that is all the ingredients. I will recap. I'm just going to give it a whiz. So we have a lovely chocolate mixture. Now, how easy is that? I mean, really nothing challenging, nothing difficult about that. just gonna remove any excess from the beater. I'm going to remove the whisk here. Let's just take this out of the way. So, mixture. So what I like to do is pour it into a jug. It's so much easier to get it into the baking tray. So very carefully, rather than doing this, move all this lovely, lovely mixture into a little jug, and it's just so much easier to pour into the baking tray, especially because of the bit. Otherwise it's going to go all around the sides, and that's not what you want to do. So you need to preheat your oven. Okay, so the oven needs to go at 200, that's centigrade, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And they actually don't take very long to cook, 10 to 15 minutes is all it takes. It's so quick and easy. So using literally with a spoon, drizzle it round the sides. There you go.
Sandra's just asking, are all makes of vanilla essence kosher?
I would like to say so. I mean, if you're in doubt, I would get something supervised. I mean, it depends if it's pure. I mean, there's essence and there's extract. So you can get them supervised. If you're concerned, I would get them KLBD. So you can see how easy this is. And I also want to say something about this mixture too. The baking essence is baking powder. So if I left this mixture in the fridge for the next day, it's not going to rise because that baking powder, and the minute it touches any liquid, the chemical reaction starts to fizz, starts to rise. And you really do need to get on and get that into the oven. I would say time is really of the essence when you have this, because the longer you leave it, to say it's working now. So you do need to, you know, your ovens, you've got to preheat your oven. And to say this is well greased, this tray, so that they do come out really easily. It is, I've had no problems of getting the little donuts out. You do need to let them cool a bit afterwards, but they do come out really easy, which is great. It's always worrying that half the donut will stay in the tin because of the shape, but actually this does work really well. Do we have any questions while I'm doing this? I'm happy to continue while I'm just nearly finished with these donuts.
If anybody wants to ask a question, if you prefer to ask it yourself, just put your hand up and you can unmute, and rather than hearing my boring voice all the way through.
And also you could change the flavour. I know you might not be coffee fans. You could use a little bit of cocoa powder instead. If you'd rather keep them completely chocolate, that would work if you wanted to do that, because I say coffee is an adult flavour. You know, children might not like it because it's coffee. That's a really nice option to do that. Or you could just make them with cinnamon if you wanted. That would also work. All right, just the last one here. I am going to put this in my oven. As you can see, I have got a bit of mixture left, so it will go into the larger one, because here's one I made earlier. Exactly the same thing happened. So let me just bring that to the screen. Let's move those so it's the shape. Okay, so that's going to go in the oven. So 200 for about 10 minutes. I'm just going to get the oven tray. We go in the oven. Oven is going on, so to 200. And it doesn't take long. I think we all know our ovens.
Lynn Marie's got her hand up. So is this a good time for a question?
Yeah, any questions?
Go on, Lynn.
Hi, I just wanted to know, 200, is that gas mark 6 or 5?
Yes, 6.
Gas 6. Thank you very much.
Yeah, gas mark 6.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? So I've got this bit of mixture here, which I'm just finishing off. So it's good to know the mixture is exactly, I got 14 out of here, 12 small ones and 2 larger ones, which is what my mixture made. Just going to get that in the oven, and then we're going to move on to the icing of these. Again, so you do need to make sure that they're completely cool before you start the icing. So I have made some earlier, and the mixture has cooled. And when you come to icing it, you'd be amazed how quick it sets. So again, time is of the essence of this as well. I'm just going to wash my hands very briefly here, and we'll move those on. So this is going in the oven too. So I'm going to pop that into my oven.
I've got a question, Denise. Who eats all your food after all your demonstrations? I'm sure it's not you.
Well, yes. This makes me really laugh. I'm a member of the Guild of Food Writers, and the same question as one of the other ladies was talking, behind every successful chef is a chubby husband. So yes, we do eat them. Some of them, depends what I'm making. A lot of it goes to, some of them goes to the synagogue, the shul, what's going on, people that need food, which is right. Okay, I'm going to just briefly heat this. This is almond milk, so we're making the icing. Right. Icing sugar. Now this is really important, that you sieve your icing. Look at the lumps at the top of it. There really are lots and lots of lumps. I've got 285 grams, which is nearly 11 ounces. 300 is 11 ounces, so it's about 10 ounces here. So literally to push that, you do not want any lumps. So sieving is important. Right, almost there. It's quite a lot. Still a few lumps. I'm going to get rid of that. Right. The next thing we need to do, again, it's coffee, and in order for it to dissolve, and I'm using the almond milk. The almond milk's got to be warm. I did this earlier on. It's cooled down a bit. It's not going to dissolve these granules. So I'm just going to put this in the microwave for a few seconds, because I say otherwise it'd be chunky pieces of coffee granules. So I'm just putting it on here for about 30 seconds, just to warm it through, and that will dissolve the coffee granules. It's also got vanilla in. This is the icing, so we're going to put in the icing, and I'm just going to get that all ready. And then you're going to get a spoon. Now I'm going to show you that there's 2 sides of the donut, all right, and it's this underneath side. They'll come out looking like this, but I'm actually glazing the base. All right, that's my microwave. So now this is warm. Again, as I say, you can see the steam coming out. That will dissolve the coffee grounds. That's what you want. So There we go. Dissolving those cocoa granules. Right, because otherwise there'll be bits of coffee and you don't want it. You want it to be lovely and smooth. So, all right, so this is now going in with the icing sugar. So I've got a little bit of vanilla. All right, and what I recommend is that don't put it all in, because if the mixture, this icing, is too weak, or so it's too sloppy, you need to add more icing sugar. So it's quite a lot already. Look, it's mixing in really well. You might not need all that liquid. So really mixing that, you can always, either way you can rescue it. If it's too thick, you add more liquid. If it's too thin, you add more icing sugar. But it cannot go wrong. Right. Right. Now I'm actually going to add a little bit more icing sugar. I think that is a little bit too runny. So taking the sieve, I'm adding a little bit more. Right, so still lumps. I don't know if you can see that, but look at the lumps. We don't want any lumps in the icing sugar. Right, that is how I want it, just that little bit thicker. So all you do, and just to remind you, this is the larger one, and it doesn't look so pretty on the base here. We're coating the base, and all you're going to do is you literally dip it. You see, I'm dipping that. Give it a 12. All right, and turn it upside down. And then immediately, it's a bit of a messy job, taking your chocolate sprinkles. This is already, so I'm just going to put a few sprinkles on top. And there you go. I'll do a few more. Literally turn it upside down. And of course you can enjoy these without any icing on. So then it's not too sweet. I've actually cut back the sugar content of the donut, to be perfectly honest. They aren't that sweet at all. So from the base, dip it in, and they just let them set, and then finish them, let them set in the fridge, and they will all stick. Any questions, anybody? Isn't that quick and easy? Isn't that simple? And when they're all done, there we go. This is how they look.
No
So
coming in.
I'm happy to continue chatting with you while we continue with this. So, any questions?
Yeah. I just want to say how delicious they look.
Oh, they are. They are. Just
They're fabulous.
Yeah, a really simple. So there's the foil inside this. I thought we had. I thought it was a sprinkle side, but obviously not. Okay, do it by hand. Yeah, they are. They really are. They're baked, but I still think you've got the oil element of it because we've got vegetable oil in these. And to say non-dairy, it just makes life so much simpler. Make them thorough as far as I'm concerned. You know, you don't have to worry about what you're eating with them, or just makes life a lot simpler as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, you could do different colour sprinkles if you wanted to as well, but I think they're great. They really are quick, easy.
But will this only work with a baking powder, a type of dough, or could you use a yeast dough baked?
Oh, no, it's a different mixture completely. No, if you want to make a yeast one, you're going to have to let it rise like a bread. I didn't do any of that. This is so quick. I mean, a traditional donut has strong flour. We're talking about flour, bread flour, and yeast, and a little bit of sugar. I actually put a little bit of cinnamon in. You make a dough, and then you've got to leave it to rise, like all the yeast it is. It's a different texture. This is a cake. Donuts, the traditional donuts are sort of bread mixture. So they are different. So adding yeast to this is not going to make it work, because you just got to use different flour, and you've got to let it rise. So it's just a different recipe, I'm afraid. But this is quick and easy. I mean, not a lot can go wrong, really, as far as I'm concerned. I think this is really, and look how easy, look how perfect they've come out of the tray. Really nice.
Can I ask you, if you were going to make it with chocolate instead of cocoa, would you need to dissolve the cocoa powder in liquid before you added it right at the beginning, or not?
Maybe, yeah, with a mixture, because you still got the liquid. No, and I'll tell you why. Coffee granules need to dissolve.
Yeah.
Cocoa powder is a powder. It's not bits.
So that can go in straight as it is.
Yes. You might need a tiny bit more liquid, because I have dissolved my coffee granules in 60 mils of hot water. So you need to balance the recipe. So you probably need, with the 60 mils, you'd make it 120 mils of almond milk to balance the liquid.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, and if you haven't got a donut tin, you know, one of these with a hot thing in, can you use it in an ordinary muffin tin? Or
yes.
Like
But so the only thing, you won't get the little holes in it. No. But the answer is yes. They only look like donuts because I say you've got the holes in them, but I think they look cute. Really nice. I'm really finished on all of those. Look how easy they are, and I'll let them set in the fridge, and within 10 minutes or so they will be all set. When I say the icing sugar, the thicker it is, the quicker it sets.
So if you're thinking about donut baking trays, I put a link in the chat to a whole page of them on Amazon.
Oh, did you? I got mine on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I've used it actually, you know, each year. I did a cookery demonstration for Langdon with them all. So yeah, it was really useful, and they had a great time. So which is all right. So I've just about finished that. I need to put the timer on. I'll say me talking about it all, but I do need to put my timer is on. Forgive me, it is on. You can see it's all beeping. So let me go through everything we've done. I'm just going to quickly wash my hands. So it is Chanukah. It is the third day of Chanukah, and we did do a recipe with different types of oil, and I've used rapeseed oil in here, I've used olive oil in this recipe, and I've also used truffle oil. So certainly used oil in this beautiful recipe of roasted butternut squash, mushrooms, and finished it off with truffle oil. And these are donuts here made with vegetable oil. This one, as I say, they are baked. So I certainly think they're a slightly healthier option here, using vegetable oil, still connecting with the festival, still, you know, enjoying the physical element of the oil with something very spiritual, which is really very nice. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Well, there is somebody here that's going to win one of my cookbooks. I'm going to pass you back to Ed.
Well, we'll take it off spotlight, and let's go on to gallery view. And we did promise that everybody who signed up, and I have to say there's a few people who signed up who didn't actually turn up this evening, was in with a chance to win, courtesy of Denise, one of her fabulous cookbooks, and we've put all the names in here. So we're going to spin the wheel and see who is tonight's winner. There we go.
It's my timer.
And there we go. It's Alan Sidney Lee. I'm not sure that Alan Sidney Lee was with us this evening, but we'll be sending out the recording of tonight's cooking event with Denise, and those people who signed up will be able to catch up with it over the next couple of days. And I'll send, well, we'll ask Alan
I need to know
for
their
his
address.
details. Yes,
Who they
we'll
want it signed
email.
to.
Yeah, we'll email him for his, I probably actually have it tucked away somewhere. People have given us their addresses when they signed up. So we'll sort that one out. But well done, Alan, and even though he doesn't know it yet. And thank you very much, Denise. Does anybody have any final questions for Denise, either about the recipes tonight or about her books? I know several of the books are available on your website, aren't they, Denise? You can buy them direct if you want them.
I was just wondering, to the donuts, would it be possible to add jam or honey or something like that to make it even more sweeter? I'm just thinking of my husband, and he has a very
very sweet tooth, has he?
tooth, yeah.
Well, when it's baked, you could see the hole in the center. You see the hole in the center. You could put jam in the middle if you wish.
Yeah.
But to be honest, with the icing sugar, that makes it sweet.
They look delicious. They look really, really beautiful.
They are sweet. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to create a healthy element rather than adding extra sugar. You know, so many people have diabetes or just not looking for extra sugar. You could put more sugar in the mixture if you wanted it, but I've actually kept it lowish. The amount of sugar in it, so it's not so sweet. But the icing sugar gives, as you know, you bite sugar. Yeah,
they look beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Yeah, they're cute. They really are, and so simple. I just think they're really easy to make.
Thank you.
I guess when we are out of Omicron lockdown, as we seem to be going into, that you might be traveling around the country doing some demonstrations. So if Sharon wants to book you, because I know you do come up to Manchester every now and then, and
I'm actually going
not too far away.
I'm there this weekend.
Oh right, okay. You're
I'm
coming to our show.
I'm actually going this Friday for the whole weekend, and then going up again in a couple of weeks' time after that as well. So I did actually a demonstration for Whitefield, not say Shoppers, it was Zoo up here. Yeah. But it was for Whitefield. So I haven't neglected Manchester.
You have been to Southport before. When you first started doing cookery demonstrations, you came and did a demonstration for the Ellen Society in Southport. We're going back a long time.
I did. You're right. I did. I have. Yes, it was amazing. Yes. Well, happy Denise, to travel if I can.
I think people are just excited to be out of the house, and you know, if they're not snowed in or locked in with quarantining, so you know, it's quite a thing. I know sort of we've just had a notice from Schul saying we shouldn't be gathering and we need to, you know, respect distance, which is what was not happening before. I know that in some smaller Schuls you're all behaving far better about COVID than in the bigger Schuls, but it'd be nice to come and actually see a demonstration in person one day. Denise, thank you so much. Thank you so much for donating the prize tonight. Sorry to those who missed out. I know Nikki was looking forward to winning the book, but we'll organise something else. If anybody wants to find out anything more, I'm sure they can email you, Denise. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Do email denise@jewishcookery.com. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Anyway, I wish you some Chanukah Sameach and best dishes.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everybody. have a happy Hanukkah for the rest of
Thank
the
you.
festival.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night, everybody.